Nobody really saw it coming. Not this big, not this brutal. What started off as a warm family project in the countryside turned into a full-blown palace war that shook the image of the monarchy itself. It all began in the lush, quiet village of Bucklebury, where Pippa Middleton, Kate's younger sister, had one simple dream: to build a nursery. Not a flashy one, not some PR stunt, but a real, honest-to-God childcare center that would serve local families, create jobs, and become a beacon of early education in the heart of rural England. It was supposed to be her own legacy, away from the towering shadow of her royal sister. But dreams, especially in royal circles, are rarely left untouched. See, Pippa had poured everything into this nursery. She and her husband, James Matthews, had bought a 72-acre farm back in 2020 for nearly $2 million. 0 cents. They converted it into a family entertainment space, and the nursery was supposed to be the next phase. It was all going so well: local council support, community excitement, architectural plans that reused existing structures to keep the project sustainable. She even had Kate's full backing, which meant potential media buzz, donors from the Royal Foundation's orbit, and a boost of legitimacy. But somewhere in the background, silent alarms were ringing. Behind the walls of Clarence House, Queen Camila wasn't pleased. And that's putting it lightly. Watching Kate's glowing face dominate headlines, standing next to Pippa's wholesome nursery vision, triggered something deep within her. Camilla had spent decades clawing her way into acceptance, rising from mistress to queen, a path littered with public scorn and private pain. And now, in her eyes, the Middletons were waltzing into the spotlight with grins and good intentions, threatening to outshine her meticulously curated image. So, Camilla did what palace veterans do best. She moved silently. It began with whispers, then delays, then questions. At a local council meeting, Pippa confidently presented the final nursery plans. Her voice was full of passion, her presentation spotless. But the room felt off. Council members offered lukewarm nods, vague concerns, soft-spoken hesitations about environmental impacts and heritage conflicts. It was strange, considering the same board had initially supported the proposal. After the meeting, a man named Harold Grayson Elderly, loyal to the community and clearly unsettled, pulled Pippa aside. His voice shook as he whispered, "There's pressure from above. They want it shut down." That moment crushed her. Pippa had done everything right. Every box ticked. Every regulation followed, so who could possibly want this stopped? Camila's fingerprints weren't visible, not yet, but they were all over it. From carefully placed phone calls to longtime aristocratic allies to quiet nudges to donors, the Queen launched a calculated sabotage mission. Material suppliers pulled out overnight, council members stalled paperwork, permits were under review, even charities mysteriously withdrew promised funds, citing internal restructuring. And just like that, the once buzzing construction site turned into a graveyard of stalled dreams. Equipment sat idle under gray skies. Plans were left collecting dust. Pippa, heartbroken, stood outside the locked gate of the farm with tears in her eyes and a crumpled suspension notice in her hand. Her dream was being strangled in plain sight. But what Camilla didn't expect was Kate. The moment Kate found out what had happened from a discreet email sent by a sympathetic council member, everything changed. Her blood boiled. This wasn't just palace politics anymore. This was personal. Camilla had crossed a line, and Kate wasn't going to stay silent. Not this time. Kate stood at the edge of the palace garden, phone in hand, staring blankly at the screen. Her fingers trembled, not from fear, but from fury. She had always known Camilla harbored a quiet dislike for her, but this wasn't just about jealousy anymore. This was a targeted takedown of her sister's dream, and she could no longer pretend it wasn't happening. That night, while the palace halls slept, Kate made a call. Not to a royal advisor, not to Charles. She called Camilla directly. The line rang once, twice, then a cool voice answered. "You're interfering," Kate snapped, skipping the pleasantries, "with Pippa, with her nursery, with something that actually matters." Camilla's response was chillingly calm. "I'm protecting the monarchy, Catherine," she said, using Kate's full name with deliberate distance. "Your sister's project is attracting the wrong kind of attention. It's not personal." Kate's breath caught. Everything you do is personal. You're not protecting the crown, you're protecting your ego. There was a pause. Then, with a sip of wine on the other end, Camilla ended the conversation with a quiet threat. "Don't push me too far. You won't like where that leads." Kate hung up, heart pounding. Oh, but she wasn't backing down. She called a late-night meeting with her small, trusted media team, people who had helped build her image through the early years campaign, and then she called her lawyers. This isn't just about Pippa, she said, voice razor sharp. It's about every parent who could have benefited from that nursery, and we have to show them the truth. Meanwhile, at Buckleberry, the project had come to a complete standstill. Pippa sat in a dusty office with blueprints still pinned to the walls, her laptop open to the latest rejection email from a supplier. Every time she tried to breathe hope back into the dream, another door slammed shut. Her husband, James, paced nearby, phone in hand, making yet another call. "They've all gone cold," he muttered. "It's like someone's blacklisting us." Pippa knew it in her gut. This wasn't just bureaucracy. This was deliberate, coordinated, personal. And then the real breakthrough happened. A call came in late at night. Unknown number, private line. Pippa answered hesitantly, expecting more bad news. "Ms. Middleton," a voice whispered. It was Harold Grayson, the same councilman who had warned her earlier. "I can't stay quiet anymore. I have something. Documents, emails, proof of where the pressure's coming from. It's bigger than you think." The next day, Kate met Harold in a discreet corner of a London cafe. He handed her a worn brown envelope, hands shaking. "I kept copies," he said. "I just couldn't sleep at night knowing what was happening." Inside were emails, real, incriminating communications from Camilla's office to key council members and donors. Phrases like "halt the project" and "minimize Middleton exposure" jumped off the page. One email even mentioned using aristocratic influence to quietly pull funding. Kate sat back silent. The weight of the envelope in her lap felt like a loaded weapon. Finally, she looked up, her voice low. "You've done the right thing, and I'll protect you." She left that cafe with fire in her eyes. Plans started moving immediately. Kate organized a charity fair at Buckleberry Farm, a massive community event meant to breathe life back into the site. But it wasn't just about booths and balloons. It was her battleground, her moment to fight back. Behind the scenes, her team prepared a press conference, carefully crafted, legally reviewed, emotionally charged. And on a bright July morning, the battle for Buckleberry went public. The crowd at Buckleberry Farm buzzed with anticipation. Children painted colorful murals on easels. Parents gathered around stalls offering homemade jams and crafts. Under all the cheerful noise, tension simmered. Everyone knew something bigger was coming. Reporters from BBC, Sky News, and even international outlets hovered near the white tent at the center of the fairgrounds. Kate Middleton stepped onto the small stage in a pastel blue dress, her expression calm but serious. She didn't bother with royal pleasantries. She didn't need to. "Today isn't about me," she began, eyes scanning the crowd. "It's about community, about children, about truth." She held up a folder, copies of the internal emails from Harold Grayson. "We have evidence that this nursery project was intentionally sabotaged, not by chance, not by bureaucracy, but by someone in a position of immense influence who chose power over compassion." Gasps rippled through the crowd, flashbulbs exploded, reporters shot to attention. "I won't name names," Kate said, measured and steady, "but I will say this. When leadership uses its reach to crush a project meant to help children, to support families, to create opportunity, then silence is no longer an option." Pippa stood beside her, trembling. Her eyes were filled with tears, but her smile was grateful. The applause came slowly, then swelled into a thunderous wave. The public understood. Kate hadn't pointed fingers, but every word painted a clear picture, and everyone knew who was standing in the shadows. Within hours, headlines exploded. "Kate Middleton accuses palace of blocking sister's nursery." "Queen Camila's role questioned in Buckleberry sabotage." Social media turned into a battlefield. "Stand with Pippa and Buckleberry" dream trended worldwide. Influencers, activists, and even quiet royal sympathizers threw support behind the Middletons. The narrative had flipped. At Clarence's house, Camilla sat motionless, gripping a teacup that rattled softly against the saucer. Across from her, her advisor read headlines aloud with a stiff voice. "She's turned the media. Public sentiment is overwhelmingly against us." Camilla didn't flinch. Then we'll respond, she said coldly. Leak everything, find dirt on the Middletons, make them look like social climbers chasing relevance. Within days, tabloids loyal to Camilla began spinning new stories. Pippa exploits royal ties for personal gain. Middleton sisters orchestrate publicity war, but this time, the damage control didn't stick. The public wasn't buying it. The nursery wasn't a money grab, it was already built into the community. The backlash only made the smear campaign look desperate. Then came the tipping point. King Charles summoned both women to Buckingham Palace. The meeting was private but inevitable. Inside the long, oak-paneled council room, he sat at the head of the table with weary eyes and clenched fists. "I want this over," he said. "I will not watch another royal war unfold. This family has been torn apart enough." Kate looked directly at Camilla. "You tried to destroy my sister's future. For what? So you wouldn't be outshined?" Camilla's voice was quiet but laced with venom. "Your sister's ambition is reckless. The monarchy isn't a tool for vanity projects." "This isn't vanity," Kate fired back. "It's impact." Charles raised a hand to stop the exchange. "The public has spoken. Let the project go forward. We cannot afford another crisis." 2 days later, the Bucklebury Local Council reinstated the building permit. Apologies were issued, donors returned, the construction roared back to life. In September, under bright skies and with local children running barefoot through the grass, the nursery finally opened. Pippa stood on the small platform, smiling through tears. Kate held her hand tightly. They had won, not just a battle of influence, but something far greater. They'd proved that even in the most powerful palace in Britain, sisterhood still had the power to shake a throne.